Het is donderdagavond en het is 8 uur geweest. Daarom is er Samos Calling, ook wel pas pour serieus, je maintiendrai. Met actualiteit, activisme en kunst. Met weinig gasten. We konden stopwapenhandel weer niet bereiken, terwijl die wapenhandel helemaal uit de hand loopt. En dan is inderdaad ook stopwapenhandel bezet. Er is heel oud nieuws over huizen Ivicke wat ik ga vertellen. Ingeborg komt live op de film. Of iets dergelijks in ieder geval. Die komt in de show, hopen we. Terwijl ze wordt geïnterviewd, gefilmd. Over haar leven, over hoe het gaat met vluchtelingen in Griekenland. Want daar wordt een film over gemaakt. Maar dat hebben jullie de afgelopen 2 weken al kunnen horen. En we hebben een gast in de studio. Jo heeft de gast ontmoet. Al eerder. Ja, ik ben gewoon al begonnen. Die praat Engels, denk ik, die gast. Maar mijn Frans is heel slecht. Ja, mon français est mauvais.
What's your message? Drop your rant. Let's keep Samos calling.
Are you 100% Dutch or something?
You are very soft on the meter.
Hallo!
No, dat helpt niet. I don't know. I was born in Dutch land.
That's what we meant by like
Let's keep Samos calling.
if you go by DNA analysis, it's going to be a mixture of stuff.
Ja. Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
crocodiles inside and mandrills and
Yes.
all
Yes.
sorts of pygmies.
Yes.
And, we
Neanderthals.
The Bushmen, the sun.
That's where you came from Africa.
Ja.
From Africa.
So that's very nice. Ik zal wel meteen dan even het Ivicke nieuws opblaten. Ze hebben verloren. Ze wilden uitstel. Tenminste, ze wilden een voorziening dat ze niet zouden worden ontruimd zolang het hoger beroep niet uitgesproken was. En ze hebben een voorziening gekregen, maar niet wat ze wilden. En de voorziening is nu dat ze begin juni uit huizen Ivicke in Wassenaar worden gekikt. En ze beraden zich nu op wat ze gaan doen tot die tijd. Dus dat is dus maart, april, mei. Dat er
2 maanden om barricades te bouwen,
activiteit, ja, maar misschien gaan ze dat niet doen. Dat is de vraag of ze ook dat gaan doen. En hun advocaat zegt het is kansloos.
Dan gooien we Oekraïners erin.
Over Oekraïners, doe even dat bruggetje. Want er zijn allemaal huizen gekraakt. Russische huizen, Poetins huizen, waar dan nu Oekraïners in worden gestopt.
Ja,
En we kunnen ook straks Engels overschakelen trouwens.
actually, Putin is one of the biggest real estate owners in the Netherlands. He is a friend of Prince Bernhard, who owns many houses too. But Putin has villas and what's it called? Land all over the world.
Yeah.
So, in the last week, what we know is that his son has a villa in Biarritz in the south of France. It was squatted for housing
Ja, please
for
continue.
housing Ukrainian refugees. A few days later in London, a big villa of the Putin tribe was squatted, or maybe it was Abramovich, I don't know, one of the oligarchs. And the mayor of London has declared it liberated zone. So this villa is maybe also a new center for independent self-organizing refugees from Ukraine.
Amazing.
Because that's what we need.
Yes, of course. It's a shame that such money and corruption goes to these few people that own 87% of the wealth of Russia.
Exactly. And now I just discovered that Putin's daughter, Marina, is married to a Dutch guy, Jorrit Vase, and he owns a little bit of land not far from Amsterdam. It's called Duivendrecht. And people from Duivendrecht put a Ukrainian flag in the middle of that land.
Excellent.
With some candles and stuff.
Ik begrijp er niks van.
Nee. Je hoeft ook niet alles te begrijpen.
Daar ben je. Ja, zie je, die ding was eruit getrokken. Je praat net in de verkeerde microfoon. Kan je het even overdoen, Jo? Want dit is echt... Ik snap dan niet waarom het niet uitsloeg. Maar die kwam via de verkeerde microfoon binnen.
Zou het beter?
Veel te hard. En je smakt, je hebt gewoon je mond vol. Laten we even... wat kunnen we nog meer doen?
Doe een jingle en beginnen we overnieuw.
Oh ja, we beginnen overnieuw. Nee, we beginnen niet overnieuw. Nee, maar dus ik heb al een ding gehad. Nee, we hebben namelijk dus een gast hier.
Ja, Ivicke gaan we dus ontruimen.
Ivicke hebben we, dat is ontruimd. Dat is nog niet ontruimd.
En toen moest ik een bruggetje maken naar het gekraakte vastgoed van Poetin.
Ja, precies. Ivicke, ja, inderdaad. Want dat kwam namelijk... we hadden iets gekraakt, tankgracht. Ik weet eigenlijk niet meer hoe dat bruggetje nou precies liep.
Jij moest een bruggetje maken. En toen zei ik van huis Ivicke dat ze geen tankgrachten mochten doen. Want dat weten ze niet. En dat ze dan zeggen, dan gaan we de Oekraïners in huisvesten. Die hebben nog 90 dagen. Dus dat is maart, april, mei. Dat...
ja, precies.
Door de 90 dagen
ja, zo kwamen we.
Toen zei ik, want dat is een goede Europese traditie. European values demand that we squat all the...
Only that I think...
vastgoed in het Engels, godverdomme.
Real estate.
Yeah. The European values demand that we squat all the real estate of the Putin and oligarchs from Russia.
But I think there's a theoretical problem.
It's not theory, it's reality.
That we have to ask someone like Menno, who is a fan of the... what you call it, the zone à défendre and the free autonomous zones that the mayor of London declares something a free zone. Is it the inflation of a term?
Bart, we zouden dat opnieuw moeten vertellen, want dat hebben de luisteraars niet gehoord. Ze weten niet dat er in Londen een villa van Poetin is gekraakt en dat de burgemeester van Londen dat nu tot bevrijd gebied heeft verklaard.
Ja.
Ze weten ook niet, want de microfoon was dood, dat er in Biarritz ook een villa van een zoon van Poetin is gekraakt. En de luisteraars weten ook niet dat er in Duivendrecht een stukje land is in het bezit van de vrijer of de echtgenoot van de dochter van Poetin, Marina. En Jorrit Vaassen die heeft al het gekocht om daar iets te bouwen en dat doet hij niet. Nu wappert daar een Oekraïense vlag.
Great.
Hè? Dus, wat doen we op dat land? Dat is de vraag. Als we dan niet Huizen Ivicke, dat is te ver weg, maar Duivendrecht is vlakbij. It's very near. What can we do with a piece of land that lies there and is owned by a close relation of Mr. Putin?
I have just one thing to say before going into that, is that how all the relationships across borders, like all these oligarchs meet together, get married, have business relations, have family and social relations, not looking at nationality, not looking at things that divide us like religion or nationality. They just get together and they go about their business and accumulate wealth and inherit wealth. Yeah. Now this is something that should be observed. Like, it's a good chance now that we look at Putin and his mobsters and see how they are connected to other families and to other relations across borders. They talk about nationality and Russia, the motherland, and they send all these poor soldiers to die, while at the same time they have their yachts in Spain, their mansions in the French cities and other places, and
it's ideal if we could apply that to all of humanity. We would not have borders, you know. We could have. We are all wealthy.
Yes, we had their wealth.
But we're just jealous. Is that a problem?
No, it's not about jealousy. It's about hoarding things that you don't need. If you have 3 palaces, are you going to live simultaneously in 3 places? Is that possible?
But do you know, for instance, I told about his wealth, his real estate in Europe, but do you know about real estate properties in countries like Iraq or Saudi Arabia or Yemen?
It's the same. You see, like in Saudi Arabia, for example, it's 80% of the real estate is owned by just 10% of the population.
Yeah, that's the Saudi tribe. But Putin, does he?
Not the Saudi tribes. It's very few people who own real estate.
Yeah, but Putin, does he have real estate in Saudi Arabia?
Well, that's a possibility. I think maybe the UAE, because it's more open, it allows for foreign investors. Qatar is a probability. Saudi Arabia is very closed for foreign ownership in real estate.
In China?
Yeah.
Okay. But now the question is returning, because that's within our reach here in Amsterdam. We know there's this piece of land owned by the stepson of Putin.
Putin, yeah.
And
it should be of course.
Son-in-law, I would say.
Son-in-law, yeah.
Son-in-law. Okay, it's how he got this money. What was the method that he got this money?
I don't know.
It's stolen from the Russian population. It should. If it's okay, so it has to be investigated.
Yeah.
Now there is sanctions on Russia and on Russian leaders. So
Can we give that to you as an assignment to check it out?
Yeah, why not? If the resources are available, yeah, why not?
So by next week we'll have all the relevant information.
Sure.
And then we take action.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
What action?
Legal action.
Legal action.
Yeah.
On behalf of the Russians who were robbed, or on
no, there
on
is
whose behalf?
there is already sanctions in place. Like if there is a prohibition of doing business with Russia, what this real estate is doing, like what, so that's one path we can take.
I thought about maybe we can build something on this land. Maybe a Tower of Babylon.
Why?
Because then we can speak many languages.
No, maybe something more of practical use, like housing for the Ukrainian refugees, maybe a place where they could work and a place where they can live.
That takes a long time. It's urgent now.
Urgency is for, of course, residency, for homes, for living spaces. Yeah.
Some party tent or a circus tent, maybe.
I think something better than a tent, because
containers.
Why containers?
Oh, they use a lot of containers to house refugees in the Netherlands. They love containers, also for students, and it's a housing crisis, you know.
Good Lord, why would you do that?
Well,
it's
they
dangerous.
started putting bolletjes slickers in containers, and then they put undocumented migrants in containers until they burned, and then they put containers and they build it for students.
Containers are for goods.
Yes.
Like for products.
That's why I keep saying we are not bananas.
Yeah, of course. It's you need plumbing, you need housing, you need heating, you need cooling.
Okay. Aziz, we must explain to our listeners: you are new in Holland. You don't know shit about Amsterdam. You just came in from Kharkov, you know, an Arab from Kharkov, you know. So I can explain you that in Amsterdam things work differently than from wherever you have ever been before, because Amsterdam is a special place. And in Holland, in Amsterdam, in this radio station, we don't talk about legal action. Legal action is just a diversion of action.
It's basically all means possible.
It's war, and as in love, everything is permitted. But we don't give a fuck about your legal action.
Yeah, but we have to take that path also. Like if there is an opportunity, an easy way of doing it, why not? Why do it?
That's it. So why I care about the law? It's war, man.
Yeah, but if it's an easy way, there is already sanctions on Russia as a government and on Russia as leaders. So.
Yeah, but what can we do, you and me? I mean, I don't put pressure on Putin, but we can put pressure on his son-in-law.
Of course we could. We could at least talk about it. Like if we have the information, we can use media, for example, and show.
Use the microphone.
Yeah, all right.
Roll the chicken.
Yeah, and we could use the media, for example, to shame that person. Like why this piece of land is, how he come up with it, and all of that.
That's words. That's what that's already done.
It should be done again and again and again, and then maybe we go to the courts and.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that next week when you've done the research. In the meantime, I propose that we have the news from this evening. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the news of this evening?
Besides, the news, I don't know. You heard about a squat in the Kinkerstraat?
Yes, there was a squat in the Kinkerstraat, I heard. And some of our colleague was going to go there, but it didn't happen because he was ill. And then he didn't go.
Oké. Dan is de Kinkerstraat 34 dus gewoon niet gekraakt.
No, it has been squatted.
Ja, dat zeggen ze.
Ja, I'm sure.
Oké. Nou, het andere nieuws. Er was vanmiddag weer de maandelijkse waken bij de Stopera. Van het comité voor waakzaamheid voor de vluchtelingenstromen. En daar waren politici. Er was ook een meisje dat net uit Kharkiv is gekomen. Hè? Dalia. Her name, she talked in English. Maybe we can play it later. But there was a very interesting guy called Orhan Galyus. and he also had a few minutes to speak about what was on his mind. And he talked about bullets. It was very impressive. Orhan Galyus, he's a journalist and a human rights activist. Like you, Aziz.
Hey, great.
Okay, check it out.
Okay, I'm going to start. If you are silent, oh, and we are silent, I hope that you can hear it. Here it is. Check.
Here. It is a special moment for me being here. And on my back here, I see the flag that I saw many times. I know Ukraine. I love Ukraine. I love people in Ukraine. And I have reason why I'm saying this. In Ukraine, there is my friend Zola Kondur. Zola Kondur is a very strong activist on human rights. And when we Roma, please let me say to you also that when I say Rom or Roma people, we Roma left India. And can you imagine this migration from India to Europe when happened between 10th and 11th century? And we know very well what it means to migrate. And we know very well that this is not first time in the history of humanity that people have to leave their houses, have to leave their gardens, have to leave their children, and so on. I went to Ukraine even when was Crimea issue. Why and how this happened? You know, I decided in my life, I think it is my mission. I want to fight for human lives. And I have got call from Ukraine that Russians have been entering in those, say, ghettos in Ukraine, in the region of Donetsk, that they were terribly beaten. So I have to fly from Amsterdam to Kiev. And first of what I did, I went to our embassy in Kiev. I talked to ambassador, I talked to people from embassy. Well, first of all, they said that, please, Orhan, take care. But I went there. So when I went to Donetsk, I saw Russian troops and as well Russian soldiers. And a guy who was just next to kind of remote street with Romani people, he said to me with a machine gun, like, Orhan, a kto ty? Who are you, like in Russian? Then I said to him simply, I don't know why and how. He said, yeah, Tsigan, you know that we Roma, we are stigmatized with various names. Well, he said, you have 3 minutes. You get them out. So somehow I helped them, and I saw once more what's happened in Kosovo, in Bosnia. In any war, bullet does not recognize who you are. Bullet doesn't know your name. Bullet knows only one thing: killing. I am very happy that Amsterdammers and Amsterdam today is breathing for Kiev, for Ukraine. And I am very happy that we opened the doors. And Roma in Ukraine, they know about it. And I'm very happy that we can address this issue. But in the same time, I have a kind of a pain because what I saw on the borders, Roma and others are not allowed to go into trains, buses, and so on. I think this action, that we can have voice to open the doors for those people who are in need to save their lives, we really have to make it possible. I'm very happy that member of the parliament said those, because these voices from the parliament has to be very strong. Because Ukrainians want to be Ukrainians in Europe. We want European Ukraine. And it is really time, this type of action to be anywhere in the world, in Europe as well, in Netherlands. My idea of a beautiful country of harmony is that when I see various people, that differences can make harmony. Because our origin, Roma origin, is from India, and we learned that the globe is one family, and that's why we have to fight for Ukrainians as being a part of the family. I thank you very much.
Ja, wat voor serieus Jementje André, actualiteit, activisme, kunst. Daar luistert u naar. Dit was, wie was het ook weer?
Orhan Galyus.
Aha.
Bullets don't know your name. I think Aziz, you want to comment on this.
Well, I agree with Orhan. He's made a very powerful statement. And yes, Ukraine has decided to be part of Europe and to move forward, and it should not be denied this decision. It's overwhelming, and even now the people who are skeptical, who were in the past skeptical, now they agree to this. Like, it's best for Ukraine to be part of Europe. Europe will benefit a lot from a country like Ukraine. Ukraine should be integrated with Europe, and that's the best option for Ukraine going forward.
But this man tells us how he went to Donbass to check on the fate of Romani in a certain place, and he got a Kalashnikov pointed to his head and given 3 minutes to move out of this place. Do you recognize this?
Yes, of course. It's an experience that I had on the border, and it's the problem with the ex-Soviet mentality of officers there. They see anything which is foreign and they consider it to be the enemy, and that also needs rehabilitation. It needs change of mindset, retraining, and it's basically the difference between interacting with people like guards in Europe or policemen in Europe and a policeman in Russia. Of course, there is a big difference.
But tell me, sorry, we heard about black students taken off the train and maltreated at the border.
Yes.
You were there. Can you tell me what you saw?
From the first moment at the border, a Ukrainian guard placed a Kalashnikov in my face and treated me as if I was the enemy, and he removed the safety from the gun. So basically I was threatened by live ammunition.
And why did he do that, you think?
Because I look different.
You look different.
Yes.
You didn't say nothing.
I said I talked to him in a language that he understands, and I expressed that I only can speak fluently in English with him. And he made a lot of racist remarks, and he was rude to me. Yeah, so he was like shouting and cursing and stuff. So yeah, I understand this situation. And for the Roma people, of course, in Ukraine, they suffer from a lot of racism, and yeah, this is understood. Like they always talk about them negatively, like they were thieves and they're always bad people and so forth. So yes, there is this problem. In general, in East Europe, there is xenophobia. There is fear of everything different.
But this happened in Ukraine, on the Ukrainian side of the border with Ukrainian guards.
Yes, and also the Polish guards were not better. They have the same ex-Soviet mentality. Like when I came to Ukraine, to Kiev airport, I also faced the same mentality with the guards.
When you arrived a year ago?
Yes, and the officers there, they try to screw you over in any possible way because you look different, because your name is different, because they know that your culture is different, and yeah, that's a problem. And it's a problem in Poland also. Like it's instituted in these security organizations like police, like border guards, like the army.
But was that a surprise for you when you came to Ukraine?
No, it wasn't, because I traveled to many third world countries, and it's not my first time to face racism. It happens before. So.
And why did you go there in the first place?
I went there because I have like a visit visa. It's one of the few countries which I can visit without going back to my country of origin and taking a proper visa on my passport. So I can go there and visit there freely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have a good time?
It's amazing people. People are so kind. They are so welcoming. I learned a lot in Ukraine. I went to school for some time. So yeah, it's a good place. It's a very, very hospitable place. Very kind people. Yeah.
But you didn't stay in Kyiv because you went to Kharkov, no?
No. I was in Kiev all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to Zaporozhye in the center for a one-day visit.
That's where this nuclear power plant is.
Yes, the one that I never knew that it was important because the city was like such a small city. It's like a town. Yeah, it's like a farm town. It's very simple.
And you left about 10 days ago. When did you leave?
I left.
The war started 24th?
I left on the 24th, 25th.
Okay.
And it took me 6 days to get out of Ukraine.
And how did you leave?
Okay. I left with a lady who had an old dog, a big turtle, and 11-year-old kid. So the going by train was not an option for them.
What's the name of the dog?
It's a name of a cartoon character. I have to research the name. I forgot.
Not Pluto.
No. It's a Soviet cartoon.
Okay.
So it's a name of a lion.
Lion in Russian.
Yeah, it's
the Lion King.
No. It's a very weird name. Like I don't recall the name. Anyhow. We have
this radio is named after a dog. That's why he wants to know.
All right.
Yeah, good. What was the name of the turtle?
Anonymous. I think she didn't have a name. Just called Turtle.
And do you understand? Because I don't. Why she brought the turtle with her?
Of course, it's a pet. It's part of the family. They took care of it and they gave it antibiotics when it was sick, and it's overgrown to a huge turtle with antibiotics.
But a turtle doesn't need a shelter because he's covered with his own house.
He needs food.
It was -2 sometimes across the border. It needed warmth. We kept it in our jackets, and it pooped a lot. and it tried to escape every time we put it inside, but it had to stay inside because it's cold-blooded. It needs to remain warm. Yeah, and it was.
We got you, me and you. I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about a girl in love and hold her tight. So happy together. The Turtles.
Yeah. The Turtles. Oh, now I understand. It's the band, the Turtles. Yeah. Hey, but you say Ukraine wants to be with Europe and has to be in Europe.
Yes.
But in that way, doesn't Russia also not have to be European?
Of course, this is also another thing, is that Russians deserve to live free and to live in a democratic state. It's too big of a country not to be democratic. It's really a shame that they are in this kind of situation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Living under tyranny and a small group of people who own everything and control government, that's a nightmare.
Yeah. But you really need some kind of revolution to change it in Russia. Or something like that, or they just have to stop being such assholes, give the money back to the people.
That's impossible. It never happens. Never happens. To give away power and money, especially that huge percentage of money, like 87% with the small group of people who control government
but that's also the way the world is going. If you follow Piketty a bit, then in the end, a few people will own everything and the rest will own nothing.
Well, that's very horrible image.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a horrible image because not having non-democratic structures like corporations owning so much power is bad for humans' welfare and humans' well-being.
Yeah.
But if you follow Elon Musk, we can all be rich in a few weeks.
That's
with Bitcoins.
that's garbage. It's,
No, it's bullshit.
It's nonsense.
No.
The guy was born into a diamond-rich family.
Yeah.
He went to elite schools. He was privileged in traveling from one country to another, which is very difficult for the rest of the population, for the rest of humanity. Yeah, he got money to invest in his first project from his family and friends.
Yeah.
And this is the same trend. Every time he goes into a new venture, people put the money to help him get richer. And now the government is doing this. The U.S. government is giving him subsidies and money.
Yeah, it's terrible, but it happens everywhere.
Yes, but it shouldn't.
Shell oil was subsidized by the province of Drenthe. It's for development of hydrogen, and they gave them like 300 million euros or something like that to Royal Dutch Shell, who don't really need money, I would think, but because it's for the environment, then they suddenly start to give them money. That's pretty sick. No, what you see with Ukraine, but I'm not sure because you know better probably, is the same thing. If you're a candidate for being a European country, you have all these advantages, and you can see, for instance, by Turkey, who has been a candidate for many years, I think 20 years or 25 years, that Turkey, but they've had enormous advantages from that, and they have had an enormous rise in wealth. Well, they're in a crisis at the moment, but the being a candidate for Europe gave lots of opportunity, and also industrial standards. They can produce stuff that can be imported into
integrated
in Dutch or in European.
Chains, yes.
Yeah. And for instance, biologic meat, all these goats and sheep running around in Turkey, it's all biologic with a European stamp on it.
It becomes
I always eat Turkish meat.
Yes.
So that's what I mean, and that's all what also Ukraine has benefited from in the last couple of years.
Yeah, but if you look at Ukraine, the last few years they did benefit, but not fully, because you have elements like these security guards at the border.
Yeah.
They have bosses who do not want integration with Europe, who do not want liberalization, or they want to be with Moscow.
Yeah.
Because their mentality is the same. Their Soviet mentality is the same.
Yeah.
They want corruption, and they want the old days ways of doing business. They want that, to keep that.
Yeah.
And it's very you can see that it's very obvious, like in the universities, in government institutions. These people, you can point them out.
So you can make a clear difference between the nice people that treat you nice and welcome and the officials in the Soviet mentality states.
Once you meet the regular people, they're all awesome. They're people who want to nurture you, people who want to help you, who see you as something interesting. They're curious to know more about you because you're different. It's a completely 180 degrees difference when you meet somebody who has authority in like police or guards. Yes.
Amazing. I mean, I hate cops, but sometimes I can even talk with a policeman. You know?
Yes, you can talk to him on the level if he's like a person.
In Holland, I mean. In Spain, it's already more difficult, or in France.
Or in Greece.
And
yes,
in Den Haag.
the more regressive.
The Hague is very tough.
Real bastard for police.
Yeah.
Watch out for the Hague police.
Yeah.
You've been there.
No, but they have a very bad reputation, and also things that are wrong and proven wrong, and they don't do anything about it.
That's bad.
Yeah.
You know, and there was for a year almost, there was a camp, a tent camp in The Hague, mainly Arabs, Iraqis, and Yemenites.
Why
They were undocumented. They did not get asylum, and they made a protest camp in The Hague. We also did it in Amsterdam. That was We Are Here. That was mainly Africans, and the Arabs, mainly Iraqis. In those days, it was before the war in Syria started.
Ah, okay.
It was 2012 actually.
Oh my. We never hear of these things.
No, but you're new in town, so I just tell you to inform you and that you know where you are. You know, You want to know where you are?
Yeah, but go on. Yeah, so you had this camp with tents in The Hague.
Then
And then they had a mayor who was later also even mayor in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
We liked him very much, but in Den Haag he was really tough. And you know why they're so tough? Because they're always paranoia, because there's the American embassy and the Russian embassy and the Chinese embassy. All the embassies are in The Hague.
And the government.
And the government and all the shit. And they are proud that they're the international city of justice, you know? International city of bullshit. Bitching the shit out of this. That's what I say.
I'm sorry, but what happened to this tents camp?
It was evicted and destroyed and erased to the ground. That's what happens if you are too long fighting against the system.
Yeah.
So, welcome in the Netherlands.
But you have to keep on fighting. It's not the objective of winning. It's just to keep on pushing.
Yeah, it's not the goal. It's the path towards.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's good to have to try to win and not only to do things to feel better because you tried and that's it.
No, it's not about feeling. It's about always pushing the envelope, pushing the limits, always to try to push the limits.
It happens often that you don't realize how much you can reach if you just do it.
Stubborn, yeah.
People don't know their own power.
True.
Because if you just forget about the reality, you can change it.
It's not. I don't want to call it reality. I just want to call it imposed power. Like it's how the structure is, and you can change the structure by just keeping pushing. And
staying
resisting.
alive.
Yes.
While you're at it. Okay, let's think about it.
Yeah, but going back to the border, like I was in these 6 days, I was walking all the time. There was no food, there was no shelter, there was no toilets,
No bicycle.
There was nothing.
No.
And there is no paramedics, there was no security. Stuff got stolen from me. I got beaten up everywhere. Like in the 2 control points inside Ukraine, I was beaten. And inside the Polish side, I was beaten and harassed. And when the students started protesting, we want to go.
The African students mainly.
They were African, South American, Indian, and Arabs.
Okay.
So it was like, and Africans. So it was like everywhere, like third world countries.
Do you know where they ended up finally?
Some of them went back home. They were evicted to by their embassies from Romania or from Poland to their countries. Some of them went with other countries, like for example the Indian embassy took Pakistanis, Bangladeshis with them. Mm-hmm. So and some of them remained and want to continue to study in Poland and in Germany and in Austria. So there is a wide variety of. The point is when you escape from war, you have the right to escape. That's the main point.
And it's possible that some of these guys are still stuck in the frontier there.
And that's why I want to talk about it,
yes.
Because I don't want people who are still there to be treated poorly while they're escaping a war zone. When you're a civilian, when you're a student, you know nothing about war. Even if you have been through war, you don't really know how to. You don't have the proper training. The armed forces in Ukraine, they did a very smart job. They were rotating the people who were in the frontiers, so they have proper training. There's 500,000 ready trained men to fight, and they don't have any tools to fight with. Right. That's which is another problem. In the 90s. Ukraine surrendered its nuclear arsenal with US and UK and Russian assurances that they will be safe and they will have integrity for their borders. So one of the people who signed, one of the parties who signed was the Russian government. Yeah. And the Russian government is now want to expand into Ukraine, and that's a problem. Yeah. We cannot have countries saying, well, historically we own this land, we can now fight there. It's can you imagine, for example, the Greeks going to fight in India because Alexander the Great conquered parts of India?
Yeah,
That's-
or conquer Macedonia.
Or Macedonia, or Romans trying to take over the Mediterranean. Like, this is crazy
Again,
shit. Like,
yeah.
this is...
But there's always something in the past that justifies anything you want. If you search long enough, you can find anything.
It could be historic, it could be divine right, it could
Yeah.
be any nonsense,
It's
but the
terrible.
thing is that this Putin is talking from Moscow about these things, about nationalism and about the motherland. At the same time, he is doing business with every other country, everywhere, every other elite person everywhere to...
But it's just war to keep out of trouble for himself, something like that. It seems
to gain.
To gain. No, it's horrible. But you were just going to say, as we reached the border, and when the students said we want to leave, and then Joost said something. So what happened then?
The Ukrainian forces asked us to sit on the asphalt. So sitting on the asphalt when it's -2 degrees, it's really painful. And I managed to get something like a plastic bag from beneath the car because this asphalt is also moist, at the dune moist. And so I took this plastic bag and I sat on it. But imagine there are kids and ladies, women with us and girls with us, and in that situation, in these crowds, I also witnessed attempt for rape. I also witnessed people getting sick and dying, and that's not a proper way to deal with people.
That was at the Ukrainian-Polish border.
Yes, there is no difference between the two borders, because there's 2 control points for Ukrainians and 1 control point for the Polish. But they are so integrated because they were ex-Soviet, like with the Warsaw Pact and everything. So they are so friendly with each other. Like the Ukrainian policeman can go all the way inside the Polish.
We're brothers.
Yes, they're Slavic brothers. So there is no difference. When the Ukrainian guard opened the last control point to me, he said, "Now you wanted to go to Poland. Now I open the gates of Ukrainian hell, so you can enter to the Polish hell." So they know what they were doing. Yeah, it's terrible. And meanwhile, all of this is happening. You look at the Ukrainians passing through in like few minutes in front of you. Like, you're encaged in this location with high cages, and you look on your other, like next to you, you see a Ukrainian family just passing through without any problems.
You were locked in these cages.
Yeah, it's like going through a tube of a cage with gates. And it has no rational reason.
Soort sluis, like locks.
Like going like cattle going in. And you look at night, people trying to burn bottles, their clothes to stay warm because there is nothing to burn, because all the woods are cut and used. So it's a horrific image.
Hell.
It's hell, yeah. And I don't wish anybody to go through this experience again, like now or in the future in Ukraine or in any other border. When there is a war, the civilians have to leave. This is by law. When I mentioned law, it's understood that when there is a war, people need to leave in safety, without bureaucracy, without this delay. It was totally meaningless.
What made you come to Amsterdam?
Well, I had the impression that I'll be treated fairly here, and I can, after all these long years of running, that I would have a safe place, that I could help bring modernity to my part of the world, because it's problematic. Also, the communities that I belong to did not embrace modernity. They have this reluctancy to go back to tradition, to go back.
What community do you mean?
The Muslim community.
The Muslim, okay.
Yeah, because
I didn't know you're a Muslim, sorry.
it's not my it's my people, like it's my culture.
Okay. Yeah,
so
yeah.
but I don't subscribe to that faith.
Okay.
I really feel bad when people die slowly because of superstition and because of dogma, and it's horrible. Like for example, I'm now working on an article about the people that disappeared in the Syrian regime.
Yeah.
And families don't report girls and women when they are when they're abducted by the regime, because it's shameful. They feel shame that they know that their women are most probably being raped, so they consider them, they write them off as dead, and they just leave them there in the jails. This is a problem of culture. You should not think this way. You should not have your honor in your sexual parts. Your honor should be somewhere up, like in your head or in your chest.
Or at least in your belly, yeah.
At least in the belly, like when you want to eat something nice. Yeah. It's having it there in the reproduction organs. It's not honorable.
But what do you know about Amsterdam?
I know nothing. I thought that it's a safe place. Huh?
But you know Spinoza, man.
I know Spinoza, of course.
I mean, Spinoza is Amsterdam, and Amsterdam is Spinoza.
That would be nice if that's the case.
You know, Spinoza, when he was in Amsterdam, he belongs to the Jewish community.
Yes.
But he was expelled.
Expelled from his community.
For his heresy.
For his progressive thought.
Yes.
Yes. But later on, the same community embraced Haskalah, which is a reformed form of Judaism, and people changed.
Yeah.
And hopefully also the Muslim community would find its way to have a reform part. And this is my dream, actually.
Do you think Spinoza was the father of the Jewish Enlightenment, the Haskalah?
No, he was mostly interested in philosophy in the absolute term. He didn't think about his community.
Ah.
He thought about humanity as a whole.
Yeah, and about God and about nature and about everything.
Humanity, like the concept of philosophy is to find answers for questions that bother humans, but rational answers, not answers from superstition or dogma.
Yeah, there's no mystic in Spinoza.
No, he was talking about reality. He was talking about knowing, how to know, and how to understand life from a practical. And
do you have a favorite sentence of Spinoza?
Nothing that comes to mind at the moment. No.
Okay, we check it out.
Sure.
What's up?
I don't have a favorite Spinoza quote. No.
I was at the Spinoza Lyceum. That's a school in Amsterdam. But there's a statue. There's two statues of Spinoza that I know of in Amsterdam. One in front of the school and one near the Stopera. You saw it, we walked there.
Yeah, I took a picture there actually.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
If you tell this story to the authorities, they will love it, especially in Amsterdam. This is the key to Amsterdam.
Why would they have an opinion about?
Well, when you come into the ID office, they say, "Oh, it's an Arab. Oh, we push him out." And you say, "There's Spinoza." Then they love you. Then they let you in just like that.
I don't think they're gonna love me.
Yes. Maybe they hate you because you're too clever.
Yeah. No, it's like the people who came here to have free thought, come to Amsterdam. That's.
Well, actually, Spinoza and his group of people came here seeking safety. Mm-hmm. They escaped from Portugal and from Spain, looking for a more humane place to live.
Yeah.
And they did at the time.
Yeah. Like there are quite a few Dutch farmers who escaped to Ukraine because there they can do anything, which they cannot do in Holland anymore, like growing pigs and sowing grain. And there was a guy who has a land that's almost as big as the whole of Amsterdam or Utrecht, Yeah. This is a huge possible space available in Ukraine.
Yes, and
it's amazing.
Actually, now we have a food shortage problem universally because of this war.
Yeah.
And the people talk about energy prices. Wait until it's autumn, Like in 3 months' time, the amount of cereal produced, the amount of dairy produced in Ukraine is enormous.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to do business in Ukraine. It's enjoyable to do business and to work and to produce.
So what can we do when the war is over?
First of all, we have to learn from this experience. We have to understand how fragile our life is, with crazy countries having nuclear weapons. Like Putin in his first statement said that he's commissioning non-tactical nuclear weapons to be used, and that's madness. Like inside Russia, they distinguish between tactical and like normal operational bombs. So they can drop small bombs in Ukraine, and that's okay for them. This is madness. This should not be acceptable.
It's not acceptable. No.
Yeah, and there is no point of having nuclear weapons. Like nuclear weapons means that everybody dies.
Yeah.
And like even if there is a war between India and Pakistan, which is a possibility, that war will kill us all, because even the small amount of nuclear bombs that they have, that's extinction for everybody.
Yeah.
And the other thing we have to learn is that we should not allow for countries to be despotic. Like, tyrannical governments should not exist in 2022.
Yeah.
Like there was great strife and a lot of revolution that took place to stop this. And until today, we have absolute monarchies, we have dictatorships, we have strange countries like North Korea that should not.
And mullahs.
Turkmenistan.
Mullahs.
Turkmenistan is another crazy place. Taliban, they were gifted a country recently.
They were?
They were gifted a country.
They got a present.
They got a present. They got a big present, like airports. I can't understand if there is a capitalist country and this capitalist country builds airports and brought machine guns and stuff. Why would they keep it? The logical thing is that they destroy it so they can sell it again. Why would they keep it and give it to their enemies? Except...
This I give you for your friend Conrad.
Oh, great. He was asking about this.
Yes, I saw it.
Yeah. So he... so basically giving such a subsidy to Taliban is from public money. So each U.S. citizen contributed.
Yeah, but a similar thing happened to ISIS or Daesh or what you want to call it, that they found like warehouses full of money and warehouses full of weapons that were left there by the Americans.
Yes. Yeah. So this is a good question. Like, why is this indirect incubation?
No, well, it's I think because the greatest enemy of humankind is the weapons industry, who are so much making money now, also by this conflict.
They need war.
They need war. War is profitable for them. And I get suspicious. I mean, America is getting weaker and weaker, and maybe it's just better.
I think there is a big investment taking place from like decades back.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, and the White House.
Which movie is that?
That's not a movie. that's the White House.
We can listen to it.
Yeah, of course.
Can I jack it in?
Sure.
Where is it? Is this the right one?
I think it's a C-type. It's a C-type.
You don't have a round one?
No.
I only have a round one. I'm sorry. I had it plugged in for Ingeborg.
I can send this somewhere. Maybe to...
Or just pick it up with the microphone. We have an old speech of Ronald Reagan.
An answer on a date for...
This is in 1987. Ronald Reagan in the White House, and he's bringing in these Afghan freedom fighters, quote unquote, who and you can see the son of Sultan
useful, I might say brief,
bin Abdulaziz, who was an ambassador of Saudi Arabia to the
Chairman
US.
Yunus Khalis of the Islamic Union of Mujahideen of Afghanistan and other members of his distinguished delegation. I expressed our nation's continued strong support for the resistance and our satisfaction with the large step the Afghan resistance took toward unity in choosing a chairman for the first time. This new political milestone demonstrates that the people of Afghanistan speak with one voice in their opposition to the Soviet invasion and occupation of their homeland. This increasing unity has already made itself felt on the battlefield. During the past 18 months, the Mujahideen fighting inside the country have improved their weapons, tactics, and coordination. The result has been a string of serious defeats for the Soviet elite units, as well as many divisions from the Kabul army. Chairman Khalis and his delegation are visiting Washington following the November 10th UN General Assembly vote, which, with a record vote once again, called overwhelmingly for the withdrawal of all foreign troops from Afghanistan. This is the 8th time since the December 1979 invasion that the General Assembly has decisively called upon the Soviet Union to pull its forces out of Afghanistan. And let there be no mistake about it. The withdrawal of Soviet forces is the key to resolving the Afghan crisis.
Okay, I'm going to, and especially these Soviet elite forces, that were kind of third world army in Afghanistan. But it wasn't really so powerful as the Americans said it was.
Yeah, well, that's not the problem. The problem is
It's not, but it's,
the problem is like this investment in regressive ideologies and thoughts. Like these people had schools built in for them by Saudi Arabia. They had centers financed by Kuwait.
Yeah.
So the U.S. was
also in Pakistan.
Yes.
This whole secret service that later built a house for Osama bin Laden.
Yes, it's not a house; it's a compound.
Right, compound,
It's a
yeah.
huge
Yeah, but
compound.
you can't expect a guy like Ronald Reagan to see the difference between Mujahideen and Taliban
And freedom fighters.
and freedom fighters. I mean, he just wants to make a nice movie. It's called American Politics.
I have recordings of our Queen Juliana, who received Ceausescu and his wife here at the palace on the dam, and having a great speech about the wonderful Romania and his wonderful country that he had, because he shifted a bit from the Soviet Union at the time as a complete dictator, but that didn't matter at the moment.
Yeah, and we have also Trump praising Putin and saying how much love he has for expanding his country.
But there's an interesting parallel also in going back to the weapons. Sorry. Nou, zeg het dan.
No, go back to the weapons.
One of the things that Reagan helped the Mujahideen is the stingers.
Yes,
You know the
and
stinger
Sam 7,
you
yes.
put it on your shoulder.
I was there,
You
yes.
defuse it, and then if you point well, you can shoot an airplane from the sky. Yeah.
Yes, I was
And
there.
the Mujahideen
there.
were you also good at it?
No, I was a child at the time.
Okay.
And I'm
So you had a small one. You can hit the turtle too.
Oh my God, yes.
Don't hit the turtle.
Don't hit the turtle.
Okay. But anyway,
Yeah.
the first thing the Dutch government decided when the war started on the 24th of February to send 200 stingers to Ukraine.
They said they were, but then I looked it up, and it turned out that these stingers are from the 1980s, and they have a chip that is not supported anymore in 2023.
my
So they have
God.
to be shot quickly before they're outdated.
Outdated.
It's dump.
It's a dumping.
Dutch are good at dumping.
Weapons.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
They created this war to dump their stingers, I'm sure.
I like conspiracies, but I'm not sure. But it's possible.
You see it happen. Europe needed this war to get united. Everybody's happy.
It's a result, yeah. It's
No, but that's
it's
what
a
you hear.
consequence of
Yeah,
it.
okay, that's what you
but causality does not mean like correlation does not mean causality.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes.
Oh, you're a mathematic.
No, this is logic.
But tell me about the stingers. You were a child and you had this baby stinger. What happened?
What's the story? Yeah, my government kind of subsidized me going there, and my siblings were indoctrinated by the state media and by this gentleman Ronald Reagan and his team. And they pushed me to go there as a child. I was 13 years old.
Like a summer camp.
That's an awful.
So what was that experience like? You went to a war.
I went to a war as a child, and I learned how to shoot RPGs. I went to the frontier.
Sorry, RPG is a rocket-propelled grenade.
For
not everybody is an expert.
No, RPG
a
is
bazooka.
It's like a bazooka.
Yeah.
You hit tanks with it.
Bazooka Joe.
Yeah,
It's not a
and
comic.
I also learned how to do bombs and stuff, and makeshift guns and stuff for assassinations.
still know?
You could have ended up in Guantanamo Bay a couple of years later.
Yes, if I
There
remember.
are vacancies now.
But
But don't worry, we have our own Guantanamo. It's
No,
called
it's
a Rotterdam Detention Center for illegal aliens.
yeah, I escaped there quickly because I was disenchanted quickly. I saw how awful people are there, and the idea of killing other innocent people who are just normal people who are employed by the Kabul government, and they have kids and they have families, and it was an awful experience. And as a child,
But you got away, you escaped.
I escaped.
You had to walk 6 days through the desert.
No, I was not much better luck. I found out the trucks that came through, and calculated the time that they would go through the camp. And actually, that camp is financed by Bin Laden.
It's still existing.
No, I wouldn't imagine it exists now.
And
Maybe.
where is this camp?
It's
you say?
you can go from Khaybar port, and you go in the direction of Kabul. That's the
Oh, I passed by there. That's near Jalalabad.
exactly, yes.
I was there too.
Amazing.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I only had a Kalashnikov
you just had a
in the
pen.
back of the car.
You had a pen.
I
and
told
paper.
my driver, don't take the Kalashnikov, but
I only had a letter opener.
and a toothbrush. Yeah, but I just to get enough of what Hegel called dialectic, the other side of civilization, if you like, or
Yes.
to be more precise, democracy, implies that all the people are able to take part in governing the society, right?
True.
That means that in a democracy, every citizen is somehow responsible too for what society and the state is doing.
Of course.
That's part of democracy.
Of course.
So each one of us has blood on his hands. Each one of us who lives in a so-called democracy. So we sending these stingers to Ukraine. We are putting illegal aliens in
I have
prison.
not seen them going. I have seen not one picture of the stingers coming out of the place where they were stored and how they were transported, where they were going, who has the stingers now. It's just a word. It's just they only said we're going to give them.
Truth is the first victim of war. So if they say they send stingers, they will not send stingers, of course, but they will send something else.
I just don't know. It's completely unclear what happened after they mentioned we're going to give 200 stingers to Ukraine. And what happened after, we never heard.
But there's another positive story, if I
Yes.
can say.
Yes.
I was serious. You wanted to react. Sorry.
Yeah.
About being responsible. You're not from a democratic country.
No.
You don't even know what it feels to be
Yes,
a Democrat.
but, there
do
is-
you understand that it's, a huge difference between, like you said, the family that doesn't report a missing girl because they know they will be raped, and if she comes back alive, she will be expelled from the family
Yeah,
because of
it's
the shame and the
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
But they can be called innocent.
Who?
These people, because they don't live in a democracy, they don't have the ways to change their reality or to change even their mind, because there's only state education or religious bullshit. But in Holland, nobody is innocent because we all have the means and access
all
to
educated.
everything.
Yes.
So
More responsibility.
And what happens, I don't know if you noticed, but a week ago there was a whole evening or a whole day where everybody could feel good by giving money to Giro 555.
Yeah, but this
And we feel
this
so
is just morphine.
good. And it's morphine. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Why?
Because it makes you feel good that you have done your... It's like when you're studying for an exam and somebody tells you, well, if this source has really good information, and you go and you photocopy the source and you feel good about yourself, but you don't study. You have this illusion.
Yeah.
You have this illusion that you have done good, and you feel comfortable, and you sleep, and you go to the exam without reading the papers that you photocopied.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
In a way.
It is.
Yeah.
If you give some money, that doesn't mean you have done your responsibility. It just means that you have done you went the easiest way by just buying your comfort.
Yeah, it's aflaat in Catholic religion. That you pay a little money to get rid of your sins.
Yes, that you get.
Sister morphine.
Yeah, it's better to be engaged and to do as much as possible and not to stop.
But I was going to tell you about a positive step that was organized by some guy that was in school with my lover. And well, anyway, he's now collecting money to send drones to Ukraine. And these drones are just flying cameras, so people can document in their own surroundings what is happening.
The destruction, that's good.
He already sent 200 drones.
That's a good job.
He had a hard time going through the border, but finally he was very welcome. It was completely a reverse of reality, you know. And it's a story. It's amazing.
It is.
I see before me the story of a meeting between this turtle of yours,
yes,
and the guy with the drones. I mean, if you can give drones to the people, why not give a drone to the turtle?
Why not get the turtle to safety? The turtle doesn't
you
care about drones.
Remote control turtles with drones. I mean,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's no fun. But we must. I mean, I think only art can change life.
Well, yeah, art is a good medium for sending a good message. I think it's a very powerful tool. So are museums. So are media. So yeah.
Okay, let's play some punk. Okay.
Dat komt er nu.
Nou, luister maar. Je het wel doen, hè?
Island Studio, Solo. Jebać Putina. Wojna się zaczyna. Jebać Putina, rosyjskie ścierwo, jebać do bólu, niech liże perło, jebać za wojnę na Ukrainie.
Fuck Putin.
Skurwysynie, skurwa mi jasna, zero litości, jebać do grobu, za te podłości, Ukraina krwawi, kuta się bawi, wjebaną wojnę i to nie film. Kurwo gin, za swoje czyny, nastanie dzień, że się policzymy za bomby, łzy i wylaną krew, odpowiesz za cały ten chleb. Jebać Putina, kurwę i skurwysyna. Jebać Putina, co znów wojnę zaczyna. Jebać Putina, zbrodniarza wojennego. Masz krew na rękach, cywila niewinnego. Jebać Putina, kurwę i skurwysyna. Jebać Putina.
I think they're repeating themselves.
What are they singing?
Fuck Putin. Your mother is a whore. And that's about the subtle civilization of Ukrainian punk.
Yeah.
So the Ukraine top 100 on Spotify.
It's amazing what you see in Ukraine from the art movement, from the young men and women who leave Ukraine to work outside of Ukraine, come back with this amazing experience, knowledge, and they apply it in the most amazing way.
I think it's a well-known fact that many European lonely men somehow married Ukrainian women that were available, also from Russia actually. There's a lot of dating going on there.
Well, yeah, I think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to have people from different cultures, from different countries getting married. I think it brings people together.
It should, yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah. Hey, sorry, what about Ingeborg?
No reply from Ingeborg. We horen niks terug van Ingeborg.
Joe, Ingeborg!
Ja, die zit natuurlijk te luisteren. Of met haar cameraploeg vriendinnen. Die ze van vroeger kende van de Icon. Ja. Het loopt allemaal uit natuurlijk. Zo'n draaidag, hè?
Nou, wat ik wel kan doen, voor het geval ze niet opkomt. Ze heeft vandaag een paar dingen geappt die wel belangrijk zijn.
Ja, die kan je even voorlezen, want dat is interessant. Dus,
I talk about, do it in English, okay?
Yes, there was stuff going on in Athens against people without papers.
She sent a message this morning about what's happening in Athens. Yesterday, so that's yesterday, there was a razzia in the center of Athens. All Muslim men with legal papers or not were arrested. We kept her son from Afghanistan, Firaydun, and dog Tiger in my house. Big sweep operation. We could see arrests from my balcony. I went to balcony with 39.9 degrees, but could not film it on my phone. Too dizzy, so sorry I could not. And at the same time, thousands of non-papers refugees were kicked out of camps. And 8,000 Ukraine refugees arrived in Greece the day before yesterday, plus 3,000 AMAs, unaccompanied minors. So this is one of the things I mentioned in this vigil this evening, that you will see that refugees from most other countries will be pushed out to make space and place for the Ukrainians, because a country like Holland can only bear so much burden. So you already see it.
They just don't want to do what they're supposed to do.
Well, you see it happening in Greece now, but it also happens already in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Yes, there's a so-called chair project, stoelenproject, for the homeless in Bijlmer, where he lives. Yeah. And they were told that they should leave the next day because Ukrainian refugees were going to be located there.
I think that's a big problem.
And these guys are on the street now.
That's a big problem. There are 377,000 Yemeni civilians that have died in the Yemen war.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about them in the media. Nobody mentions them. Nobody says that we have to receive refugees from Yemen. And that's a big hypocrisy. Like
when they come, they get the status in Holland, but they don't.
How would they come?
They're not invited. Some people.
They have to go across all Saudi Arabia to reach.
Well, I know Yemenis who have made it, but that was in history.
Clare Dally about the Afghan crisis of last week.
Oh yeah, that's nice. She's from Ireland, huh?
From Ireland.
The European part, yeah.
There's no doubt about it, we're living in times of catastrophic crisis where the lives of innocent civilians are sacrificed in the wars of their masters. Yes, in Ukraine, but not only. Since the last plenary, tens of thousands of Afghani citizens have been forced to flee in search of food and safety. 5 million children face famine, an agonising and painful death, a 500% increase in child marriages and children being sold just so they can survive, and not a mention of it, not here, not anywhere. No wall-to-wall TV coverage, no emergency humanitarian response, no special plenaries, not even a mention in this plenary, no Afghani delegations and no statements. My God, they must be wondering, what makes their humanitarian crisis so unimportant? Is it the colour of their skin? Is it that they're not white? They're not European? That their problems come from a US gun or a US invasion? Is it that the decision to rob their country's wealth was taken by a despotic US president rather than a Russian one? Because, my God, all wars are evil and all victims deserve support, and until we get on that page, we have no credibility whatsoever.
Ja. Clare Dally. Ze is van het Europees Parlement, of the European Parliament. I forgot the name of her party.
Irish Party.
Irish part. Well, all right. Supposedly. Yes. So there are people who say things, but I must say that it was hard to get to download this video. I was looking at the news, and there was this thing about the support for Putin in Russia, which is all a propaganda thing. When you had this clip of big men with a large Z and singing and kind of threatening, looking threatening for to support Putin. This video is unfindable. If you look for it, you cannot find it. If you just look like propaganda for Putin, it's all gone. So there's also stuff happening here. So we cannot support Putin if we would like to, or just look at the propaganda that's made for Putin. It's very hard to find it.
Because the algorithm will not allow you to see it.
Right, and I think that's bad.
That's censorship.
What?
Censorship.
Censorship.
Yeah.
You want to break the silence about what's going on in Greece, in Athens. Yeah. And we have a guy, we have our agent Ivicke, he's in Athens. So let's call him. On the phone, like here? Okay.
Hij speelt ook muziek. Ja, maar zet die muziek uit.
Zet jij net aan? Ja, omdat je met je vingers aan zit.
Ik kan Ivicke ook bellen.
Nou is hij ook weer weg.
Had je Ivicke aan de lijn?
Nee, ik had hem klaargezet om te bellen. Dus ging jij met je vingers aan zitten.
Rutser, dat is jammer.
Je moet het hoesje eraf halen. Nou even.
Ja. We do it as we speak. We are trying to make a connection with Ivicke. And you rather do it with the plastic anti-falling shock cover off. Yeah, right.
Ivicke is a rapper from Sierra Leone. And he is for quite some time, more than 2 years, in the refugee camp in Greece. We regularly talk with him on the phone. He's not always picking up. And he's now, last time we talked, he was in a shared apartment in Athens, trying to make money. I have another number, I can try. This doesn't seem to work.
Je luistert naar Pattenpoe Serieus Jeannette Jantré. Activiteit, activisme, actualiteit, kunst. Nee, Ivicke, het gaat niet lukken. Over
Die belt terug. Wil je Thompson proberen?
Ja, maar die zit in een kamp in... of is hij uit het kamp?
Kavala, ja.
Oh, die zit bij in de buurt van Thessaloniki.
Ja, hij speelt bij Alexander de Grote.
Oh, ja, dat is ook zo.
Dus misschien weet hij ook.
Ja.
Because he has no status, eh?
Yeah.
Ivicke has, but Thompson doesn't, because he was a minor when he arrived, but they don't believe him.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
We have to check if they're okay.
Maar dit is Alexander de Grote. Dit is niet Thompson.
Nee.
Plaatje van... Hallo, hi Thompson.
Hallo.
Hallo.
Hey Thompson, how are you, man?
Were you sleeping?
Good. This is Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, come back from training. Just waiting.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were maybe watching the football match.
No, I've come back here and training. I'm just relaxing, sleeping already.
Okay, sorry to bother. We talk tomorrow, okay?
Yeah. You are watching which game?
What?
Which game are you watching?
Which game are you watching?
We are making the radio show actually now. We are not watching the football match.
Okay.
But I hope you win. Okay then.
Yeah,
God bless you. Bye bye.
On Sunday.
Good night.
Bye.
Sorry about it. Take care.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Yeah, you cannot just call anyone up at any moment.
Okay.
Yeah, you can, but you see, it's painful.
Okay, then
The guy was tired. Okay, where were we?
We talked about the Irish Parliament, the lady.
Oh yeah, and Afghanistan, and the difference between one disaster and the other.
The treatment of certain
double standard.
the double standard.
Double standard.
Yeah.
Now, this is a problem, and I see it all the time. The problem between the empire and the republic, or the empire and the state. You look at the United States, you see how nice the Constitution is done, the fair and just treatment of people and all of that, and then you look at the empire and its behavior, which is completely different. The way that they treated the native population, the way that they treat people in South America and Central Mesoamerica, their military campaigns across the globe, the way that they Korean War, the despotic regimes that they support, Iran, the Gulf states, it's horrific. The deals that they make, and the same with the French Empire. You see the same behavior. Like we had a look at Ronald Reagan meeting in the White House, but we also have the same behavior in Paris when they renamed the one of the streets. Instead of naming it for a poet or a famous artist, they name it Ahmad Shah Massoud, which is also a Mujahideen fighter in Afghanistan, but he was mostly related with the French.
Yeah.
So you see this, and even Khomeini, when he was flown into to Iran to take over from the revolution, he came on Air France with security guards from the French Secret Service. Like this is, it's, you look at it and you see what the hell is this?
They want their own empire and their own power and their own people.
And this is the hypocrisy. When you have an empire that does things in these ways, and you look at the French Republic and all the values, the beautiful values that are there, and the treatment of people within certain spheres, you see like the justice and the humanitarian way that people are treated. It's double standards.
I think all politicians are stupid. They make decisions and they don't know even what they're talking about. Like Afghanistan or Ukraine.
Yeah, that's what they do.
And there's this agency problem.
They even get paid for it.
It's the agency problem. When you elect somebody, you have this limited authority in the election process.
Yeah.
And then after that, he's out of control. He can do whatever he wants.
Elections yesterday, as you no doubt noticed, for the municipal government, is it?
Town council.
Town council.
Town council.
Town council.
Town council. Yes. Oh ja, dat was nog een ding dat ik even in het Nederlands zeg. Menno, dat is iemand die ook wel eens meedoet met dit programma. Die kwam ermee dat na deze verkiezingen is Lutkemeer op. Het komt niet meer goed, want de Partij van de Arbeid is gewonnen en daarom komt het niet meer goed.
Is het for 4 years or for how long?
Menno is een van die mensen die denkt dat je met de gemeenteraad nog dingen kunt veranderen. Ik geloof daar niet meer in.
Nee. No, there's to put it short, there's a piece of a tract of land which has or used to have biological agriculture, and it was sold by the municipality to make it into industry, but there was not really need for it. So now they still want to go on, and also the deal to change this farmland into industry land was a bit criminal. So people even went to jail for that. but still it's going to happen. But the problem is that the price of agricultural land is 10 times as little as industrial land. So just if you can change the purpose of this land,
You add value.
You add value, and now the city doesn't want to change it back because there's a lot of action to keep it
You
biological.
mean to say you add money and you destroy value.
Yes.
Yes, that's what happens. So now this guy who is not
More
here
accurate.
today, who says, "Well, we finally lost because these parties have won in the elections," and I'm not sure, but still, it's a long and hard struggle, and it's unsure what the outcome will be.
Well, whatever happens is like the election has taken place. Now they have this period of time where they just do whatever they want.
Right.
So it's
Well, it's not completely secret what they're doing, so we can know, so we can protest and remind
Fight
them
back,
of what
yes.
they were supposed to do.
Anyway,
yes.
tomorrow everything will be different again.
And that's the next minute everything will be different again.
Yesterday is.
Or everything will be new again. You can see that also. We had this great poet who said everything you do has never been done before. No matter if you go to your work like yesterday, it's completely new.
Different, yes.
Yeah, it's different because it's not yesterday.
I know another nice poet who said, "You are never alone." Never.
That's nice.
Yeah. No, I don't. Which poet was that?
Simon.
Yeah, this mine was from Simon also. It's a kind of magical poet that he was hated also because he was called the unbaked piece of dough.
Unbaked?
Unbaked piece of dough. So he was like, how weak can you be? Like,
Oh my
Tall
God.
and white-haired, and
Yeah.
he was smoking too much different kinds of substances, and he was like in America you had these types like what were they called?
hipsters.
Ginsberg and stuff.
Yeah.
The beat poets. Yeah, they were the beat poets, and he was
And
kind of
Artaud also. He was very much.
Anton Artaud, yeah, they were also psychonauts, you know, or paratropic ingredients of ecstasy life, and yeah, another successor of him is Hans Plomp. I met him yesterday. He has to leave his house in a year, but they already started building around his house. So he wakes up early in the morning by the drilling. So officially they cannot start building because it's the season that the birds are birding. So I told him he should change himself into a bird, and then they cannot disturb his peace.
So what's
It's the only solution.
What's happening to
It's
his
better
house?
than going to elections.
What?
Ballots.
But so what's happening to this guy's house?
They have to leave.
Why?
Because the house is too low. If you want to make money with the ground, you have to build high.
I thought that he lived in this free village.
Yeah, that's very fucks, but he lives in the Zeeburgerpad.
Oh. Okay.
Dus
It is what?
around the corner from us.
So yeah, that's the Psychonauts of Amsterdam.
That's the
For
local.
famous, and there's many also who. This poet Simon is dead already.
The hidden agenda of this show is that we teach you something about Amsterdam, so you know where you are.
That's cool.
It used to be a magic center. In
We
the
don't
60s.
say we have to stay. You are free to move. You know, we don't stop you. But if you want to know Amsterdam, you're at the right place.
And there was this kind of magician who did a ritual every Saturday night just before Sunday, and he wanted to invite all mystics and all spiritual freaks to come here and have a big magic center of the world in this city.
He was fighting the tobacco industry because he was a heavy smoker himself.
Interesting.
He warned against cancer. He wrote a big K on all cigarette advertisements, which you had a lot in these days, and everybody was still smoking.
Oh my
and
God.
all the newspapers also had big. The tobacco industry was a big sponsor of the newspapers.
And
so he said, well, the news is also they want to make you addicted.
Of course.
He was
He was right.
He was wat ik zeg, zijn tijd vooruit.
He was ahead of his time.
Ahead of his time.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was. Maybe you heard about Provo. Provo is the most magic name from the 60s in Amsterdam. It was like a kind of a Kropotkin type of anarchism. And they had quite a bit of theory behind them, but they had also very practical interventions. Like, for instance, you see it now in a different way, but the idea of sharing bicycles was invented by them.
Wow.
Not in the same way like they do now with the swap bike and
No registration at all. Just free bikes in the street were painted white, so you could just take them. That was the idea.
That's amazing.
Free transport.
and then a few jobs to repair them every now and then. And the idea was you take it if you see one and you leave it when you don't need it anymore. Makes sense. Now this is shared platforms
Economy,
like Airbnb, but I think the basic story about Provo, like I said, is that they changed the whole political culture. There was no more respect for authority. Authority was to be accountable to the citizens, and there was an opening of society. But I don't think that is true at all.
You don't think it's true?
I think the main contribution of Provo to society is the white bicycle. And also the green roofs, you know, and the creches for the children.
And environmental awareness. That's also what they
kind
were
of
very strong.
anarchist communism. You know Kropotkin, Piotr Kropotkin. He was one of the leading ideologies of anarchism, like Bakunin and Goldman and stuff like that.
Yeah, I read about that, but until now, I can't really distinguish between the different types.
No. Well, since you're in Holland, you should read Anton Pannekoek.
Okay.
He's the best. It's a bit old. It's more than 100 years old, maybe, but he's a good guy. I like him.
All right.
Pannekoek. Remember that name. He was both an astronomist and a political theorist. He was on the side of Rosa Luxemburg, you could say. Council communism.
That's a good side.
Yeah, interesting. We have to go back to the old days, like Spinoza and Pannekoek. En Simon Vinkenhoek.
En hoe heet die gast ook weer bij de hoe heet die nou? Verdomme, bij het Haarlemmerplein. Die gast met de Haarlemmerplein. Die gast, die man bij het achter Haarlemmerplein. Als je
Jacob van Lennep.
Bij de Sparnammerbuurt in wil. Voor die tunnel, voor die spoortunnel. Staat een man.
Oh, Domela.
Domela Nieuwenhuis.
Ja. Hè. Neem en eet. Oh nee, dat was Bart de Jong. Bart de Licht.
En de Hamer. Dat heet of de Moker.
De Moker. Ja, de Moker.
They had work is crime. Arbeid is Verbrechen. So you must not work because that's a crime.
It's a crime.
Yeah. I don't really figure out what he meant.
Maybe.
Do you know why Arbeid is Verbrechen?
I can say a parallel. You know the story is about the prostitutes going on strike in Lyon some 25 years ago. And they had a banner called saying, all labor is prostitution.
Labor, not work.
Labor.
Yeah.
Like employed.
Employed, yes.
Yeah. So Arbeid is
I think that's what you mean.
What they mean.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not sure.
Because in labor there is theft.
It's an exchange of values.
But not a fair one.
No.
Mostly not in capitalism or in religious dictatorships or in Russian
oligarchs.
Life sucks.
Do you think that Ingeborg will turn up eventually? Because
No, I don't think so.
I don't think
We can't blame her. She's always there.
She's very sick.
Neem een broodje alsjeblieft.
Ja, het is met vinger. Slecht voelen.
Ik word er zo niet meer. Anyway, can we evaluate? We are maybe also rounding up the show already.
We could. If there's something you want to add, please.
I'm only starting to wind up. You don't have to go immediately. But maybe you have some questions.
Questions?
Yeah, don't interview me, but you can ask a question. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, when this hypocrisy will end?
That's a good question.
When do you think it's going to end? When we talk about values and do these values?
You
and
mean
adhere to them.
the double standards?
Yeah.
for instance. I don't think it will ever end, I'm afraid.
Ever end?
That end of ending double standards and hypocrisy requires
all
that
this-
people say the truth and live the truth.
Yeah.
And that's jihad. It's very difficult. You know that as a former original cultural Muslim. Like jihad is a personal improvement.
That's a lie.
The small jihad.
That's
There's
a
the
lie.
big jihad.
It's a lie.
That's a big lie. The small jihad is a small lie.
It's the small jihad.
Because it never works.
Because the small jihad is basically fighting whoever does not agree with the Islamic thought. That's the small jihad, and we all know this. Every single Ahmad and Muhammad in the street knows this.
I forgot. Sorry.
It's
I'm an
not.
apostate.
It's not a good. The small jihad is not a good idea. I know it's marketed as a good idea, but it's not.
Shit. Another illusion gone.
No, I think that's. You say you have to keep pushing the envelope and keep trying to get more influencing and use your power to influence and make things better.
Yes.
But the thing is that we are confronted with enemies who are invisible and who manipulate the public opinion mainly to
their benefit.
To their benefit and against the public need.
Yes.
So that's a thing that we have to change, and I think we have to really fight the arms industry and really attack and try to destroy them, and not just protest because they are killers, they are murderers. They know it, we know it. So what do you do with murderers? You cannot say please stop. They're not going to stop.
Well, basically, there is no reason to have them. It's they try to create the reason for them existing by creating war and sustaining war for a long time.
It's what we call circular economy.
Yeah, it's a kind of a donut, donut of war. It's more like a
perpetual war.
It's like a what you call it, a mushroom, like a big mushroom model.
Yeah, it's great actually. No, the circular economy is like you preserve natural environment by not producing too much waste and recycling everything.
Yeah, and doing sustainability.
But the same principle you can apply to war and arms industry. Yeah.
It's a horrible it's a horrible industry. And they're always they're good in doing
they are good, but we can be better.
Yes,
if you don't believe that, you better die.
In the US, they have all these lobbies. They're good in lobbying for money and for power from government.
But this
like if you hear, for example, Joe Biden when he first talked about Saudi Arabia, he said that we should hold them accountable. We should stop the war in Yemen. The Khashoggi killing should not be answered to, and right now everything is forgotten because so much of his administration are basically lobbyists for Aetherion and all these other military industrial complex companies.
You have there this the credit card. You have this kind of economic thing with credit cards, that there's a lot of debt and that's really dangerous, and also the student loans, which are a huge problem. That's all Joe Biden. It's all Sleepy Joe who was friends with the people who created
this problem.
This
problem, yeah.
But Aziz, maybe we can come back to the concrete personal life situation. I just wondered, what are your needs right now?
My needs right now is clarity. I need to understand things more clearly.
Like what? Things?
Like regulations, what is the clear process. Until now is for me very ambiguous.
Yeah.
And they retain it to be ambiguous. Like it's not so clear.
Officially, you're supposed to report yourself to the RAI and find a place.
Yes, but
in the system.
Yes, and
did you go there?
Not yet, because I'm worried. I am sincerely worried. And when you flee,
What is your worry?
because I made during the past year, I tried so hard to keep my documents, like proofs and my history, my records, but fleeing from the war and the treatment at the border made me lose all these valuable
You want to retrieve
papers. Yeah, I would like to retrieve them. I would like to retrieve other documents also. And the other thing is that all through my experience, people want to screw me over. Like, I have seen this repeated again and again and again through like in legal establishments and asking for asylum, and all of these through my life. I have seen that it's not a pleasant, it's not a trustworthy environment, and that's really sad because I have potential. You know, I can do reports, I can do articles, I can do interviews, I can do research, I can improve the society I'm living in, and I'm not doing that. I'm being shackled from performance and from production and from reaching higher goals, just by people being dicks and being horrible treatment with me. Yeah, it's like the guards on the Ukrainian-Polish border. They were absolutely horrible with me. I was from the first day in Poland. I was number 4 at the gate, and they pulled me all the way. They dragged me like with beating. They dragged me all the way like to number 500. And why would that happen? This is this repetitive story in my life. I work hard and I try to achieve, and I reach to the final stages. Then somebody breaks all the laws and drags me all the way back. This happens to me all the time. And that's why I have this trust issue. I always have this trust issue. I think about the other guy who's gonna interrogate me or look at me and try to screw me over all the time.
Yeah, it's also because these bastards have jobs like that. It's always, I saw a thing about a guy who guarded prisoners in the prison. The man was completely fucked up. It's insane to have someone do this work, because you're not allowed. I mean, if you're a nurse, you have to love people and have to care them. Of course, you cannot have a butcher work in a hospital or a sadist.
Yes.
But you can have a sadist being a
guard. Yes.
Being a guard.
Yes.
or become a sadist once you are a guard.
Yeah.
I don't understand that really. But it could maybe.
I think it happens too.
Yeah.
But tell me, we know each other for 2 or 3 days now, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was nice to meet you. But I suppose you have more nightmares than dreams right now.
Yes, the nightmares came back again. And that's a problem for me because it makes me unfocused. For example, today I had to have a nap from 2 o'clock until 4 o'clock just to compensate for lack of sleep at night. I always have a repetitive dream of somebody trying to break in and to kill me or to do harm for me. And it's always members of my family in the nightmares. Yeah, so I got a lot of these nightmares, and I tend to eat a lot when I don't sleep properly, and I become nervous during the whole day, and that makes me get even more nightmares. It's like a vicious circle. And during the year in Ukraine, there was 0 nightmares, 0. Because there was no interaction between me or any official. Like the interactions were very positive. They were not. Yeah. So the nightmares returned.
I'm not surprised. But still, it would be a shame if you can't dream of anything.
Dreams are good, nightmares are horrible.
Yeah.
I have a dream. It's just to help my part of the world to become more modern.
And your part is the Muslim community?
Yes, I want them to accept secularism. I want them to accept diversity. I want them to accept rationality.
And accept you?
Not necessarily. If they don't like me, that's fine.
But you see that there's a complete swing to the right in the Muslim world. Like for instance, Indonesia, where all women wear headscarves now, and they didn't like 20, 30 years ago, or in Afghanistan.
Yes, because there is a huge investment.
But I mean, they always say, well, it swings back and swings forth. Does it swing back? No, it doesn't. Only swings one way.
We have a tendency for regression. And so much money from the 80s was invested in this. Like you look in, for example, Modi in India, the Hindu nationalism. Yeah. That's a very, very backward, regressive movement where they want to have a pure state for just Hindus. And India has a lot of religions there, so many different. And
so
yeah.
The question is maybe if we do have hope for a change for the better.
We should.
For instance, for your community or our community.
There should be.
Lutkemeer.
Oh, the world, yeah.
Because that's also, you find that when there's a crisis, there's no environment anymore. There's no time for environment, no. There's always a postponement. We in this radio, this is old radio, we had a George Bush Sr. was here, the father, George Bush, was here. And he came with global warming, acid rain, and pollution of the world's ocean as the great problems of the earth. It was 1989.
In this studio?
He was not in the studio, but it's 33 years ago that he said it, and nothing has happened in the 30 years towards the environment. The most of the damage to the environment is done after his speech. So we all knew, we all saw it happening, and still we couldn't change anything. We haven't changed anything. It's only got worse. Give that thing to me. Yeah, you talk.
It started with burning oil fields in Iraq. That was also Bush doing his job. Bush is oil, you know.
But he was then already ex-CIA.
Ex-CIA, but his family is into oil.
Yeah.
Halliburton.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
talking about Iraq.
So he was talking about the environment, but his investment, his money...
Yeah. It was a political speech. He told us what we wanted to hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
And since the early 70s, people knew what's going to happen for the environment, and computers were used in different locations to forecast the future, and they knew exactly where we will be today.
It's really time robots take over, don't you think?
No. I don't think they have awareness or anything. It doesn't matter if they're on or off to them. So why?
We all become tools of artificial intelligence, you know this.
Actually, the name for work in Slavic languages, the name for work or labor, robota, and it's one of each time I would hear this word, I would freak out because I didn't like the. No, I didn't like the concept that work is basically servitude, and it really messed up my mind. Each time they say it actually the first word that was implanted in my mind.
One of our dear colleagues, his name is Rabotnik. Yeah. Then we had a television station called Rabotnik Television.
Yeah, it was funny because it was still Cold War, and it was kind of.
The best part was the jingle.
Yeah. Yeah, the residents. Yeah.
Have you played it?
Yeah, really?
I have another song I'd like to play, if you don't mind.
Oh, you want to play a song? Okay. Zo, zeg met de vingerafdruk. Ja? Nou, jezus, door.
Nee, dat doe ik niet.
Nee, dat zeg jij, maar jij mag zeggen.
Nee, do the residents. Residents?
Weet je ook weer? Het is het bekendste, echt de enige wereldhit van de Residents. Wat natuurlijk een underground, obscure band was.
Ja.
Dat is hem. Ik denk dat dit hem is.
Niet populair zo.
Nee?
Voodoo is populair.
Die is leuk, die vind ik leuk. Fingertips is ook geweldig. Laten we vinger, die duurt maar een minuut. Maar het heeft gewoon helemaal niks met Rapotnik te maken. Nou, dit was de tune van Rapotnik. En van Radio 100 dan. Was het alleen van Radio 100? Three squatters illegal radios. We were one, and there were two others. And one of the others was a combination of 5 radios together. So there was a Ja, we draaien er een eind aan, dan is er een ander programma. Hallo, so this is the end of PSJM. But the few seriously, J. Matchin Dre is weer afgelopen. Dank aan de gast Assis. En dat het hem goed mogen vergaan in dit land. En waar hij ook gaat. Groeten aan Kimball. Hopelijk in goede doen. Ook iedereen eigenlijk. De hele mensheid. Rustig aan. Dan breekt het lijntje niet. Ik vind het eigenlijk kutmuziek als ik heel eerlijk mag zijn. Ga je toch stilzetten? Ik wou even naar Fingertips. Dat is echt een van mijn lievelingsliedjes. Oké mensen, bedankt hè. Ik ga even meteen naar de eindtune. Ik heb hier ook een tune van gemaakt ooit. Ik heb de zanger tussenuit geknipt, maar dat heb ik hier nu niet. Hier kan ik wel even doorheen. Oké, eindtune mensen. Nou ja, dat zei ik. Eindtune, Pattenpoel serieus zit erop. Is het weer al voorbij. It's over, this show. Next week we'll be back. 8 o'clock, Thursday night. Kusje van Jo allemaal. Nou, lekker hoor. En lekker slapen. En morgen gezond weer op, hè. Dus dat. Bedankt en tot de volgende keer. Doei doei, bye bye, zwaai zwaai.